The first encounter. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Alliance hummed with disbelief. Ambassador Krillnax of the Centauri Republics slammed his crystalline appendages on the council table, his luminescent form pulsing with agitation. "This is madness," he exclaimed, his voice resonating through the translation systems. "The humans sent just 3 ships against the entire Xarkan fleet." The holographic display at the center of the chamber showed the stark reality. 3 tiny human vessels approaching the border of Tarkan space, where thousands of warships awaited them. The Xarkan Empire, known for conquering entire star systems with overwhelming force, had given Earth an ultimatum: surrender their newly discovered quantum drive technology or face annihilation. Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the council, her back straight and her eyes steady. At 62, she had seen enough of war on Earth to know that numbers didn't always determine the victor. "The Galactic Alliance asked for our response to the Xarkan threat," she said calmly. "We have given it. But 3 ships," protested Ambassador Eileen of the Meridian Collective, her tentacles writhing in confusion. "The Xarkan command over 5,000 battle cruisers. Your species has barely 50 years of spacefaring experience. This is suicide." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "With respect, Ambassador, humanity has been fighting wars for millennia. We've learned that sometimes less can be more." The council erupted in murmurs. Most species in the Alliance had achieved peace through overwhelming force or diplomatic submission. The human approach seemed incomprehensible. Light years away, aboard the lead human vessel Prometheus, Captain Nikolai Petrov studied the tactical displays. The Russian captain, known for his unconventional tactics during the Mars colony uprising, had volunteered for this mission without hesitation. His crew of just 50 worked with precision, their movements reflecting the intense training they'd undergone. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Wong from the sensor station, "Xarkan fleet is powering weapons. They're broadcasting on all frequencies." The view screen filled with the imposing figure of War Marshal Zorvax, his obsidian armor gleaming under the harsh lighting of his command bridge. "Human vessels," his voice boomed, "you enter Xarkan space with 3 ships. This insult will be answered with your destruction. Power down and prepare to be boarded." Petrov leaned back in his command chair, his weathered face showing no emotion. "Open channel," he ordered. When the light blinked green, he spoke with deliberate calm. "War Marshal, we come with an offer of peace. Stand down your weapons, and we can negotiate." The Xarkan commander's laugh echoed through the bridge. "Negotiate? With 3 ships? Humans are more foolish than our intelligence suggested." He cut the transmission. "They're launching fighters," reported Wong. 300 heading our way." Petrov nodded. "Dr. Patel, are you ready?" From the science station, Dr. Maya Patel looked up from her console. The Indian physicist had been instrumental in developing the technology they were about to deploy. "Quantum field generators online, Captain. But I must remind you, this has never been tested in combat conditions. First time for everything, Doctor." Petrov turned to his tactical officer. "Execute Protocol Omega-1." The Prometheus seemed to shimmer for a moment. Then suddenly there were 12 identical ships on the Xarkan sensors. Each appeared solid, each registered as a fully armed vessel. The Xarkan fighters hesitated, their formation breaking as they tried to identify the real target. "Impossible," Zorvax roared from his bridge. "Scan for energy signatures." But the human illusion was perfect. Each false ship generated the exact same readings as the original. The Xarkan fighters split their forces, attacking all 12 targets simultaneously. Petrov smiled grimly. Phase 2. The Prometheus and its duplicates began an intricate dance, weaving between the confused fighters. Then, one by one, the false ships began to detonate, not with conventional explosives, but with electromagnetic pulses precisely tuned to Xarkan shield frequencies. Within minutes, the entire fighter wing was disabled, floating helplessly in space. The second human ship, Artemis, commanded by Captain Li Wei, chose this moment to reveal itself. Dropping out of stealth mode, it appeared directly behind the Tarkin command carrier. The Artemis was unlike any warship the galaxy had seen, sleek, small, and bristling with arrays that defied conventional weapon classifications. "War Marshal," Captain Lee's voice came through on the Sarkin bridge. "We suggest you reconsider your position." Zorvax whirled to face the new threat. One more ship changes nothing. All batteries, fire. The Sarkin dreadnought unleashed enough firepower to vaporize a small moon. But the Artemis wasn't there anymore. Using a miniaturized version of the quantum drive, it had jumped a microsecond before impact, reappearing on the opposite side of the Sarkin formation. Back at the Galactic Alliance, the Council watched in stunned silence as tactical data streamed in. 2 human ships were systematically dismantling the pride of the Sarkin fleet without firing a single lethal shot. "This is impossible," whispered Ambassador Krillnax. "No species has technology like this." Admiral Chen remained silent, her eyes fixed on the display. She knew the real surprise was yet to come. The 3rd human ship, Athena, had remained hidden until now. Under the command of Captain Nora O'Brien, it had been observing, calculating, waiting for the perfect moment. On the Sarkin command ship, panic was setting in. Reports flooded in of disabled vessels, confused crews, and systems failing across the fleet. War Marshal Zorvax had never faced an enemy like this, one that fought without killing, that disabled without destroying. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, voice shaking, "we've lost control of 40% of our fleet. Systems are shutting down randomly. It's like they're inside our computers." That's when Athena made her presence known. Unlike her sister ships, she broadcast on all frequencies, ensuring everyone in the sector could hear. "War Marshal Zorvax," Captain O'Brien's voice was steady and clear. "This is Captain Nora O'Brien of Earth Ship Athena. We carry no weapons. We are a diplomatic vessel." The statement sent shockwaves through both fleets. A diplomatic vessel in a war zone. O'Brien continued, "What you've experienced today is a demonstration. Humanity has chosen to show strength through restraint. We could have destroyed your fleet, but we chose not to. We offer you a choice: peace with honor or conflict without end." In the Galactic Alliance chamber, delegates were frantically communicating with their governments. The humans hadn't just sent 3 ships. They'd sent a message that would reshape galactic politics. Ambassador Eileen turned to Admiral Chen, her tentacles now displaying patterns of respect. "You didn't send 3 warships. You sent a demonstration of capability, a show of restraint, and an offer of peace." Chen nodded. "We learned long ago that true strength isn't in how much destruction you can cause, but in how much you can prevent." The tactical display showed the Sarkin fleet, mighty and numerous, effectively neutralized by 3 ships that had chosen not to kill. It was a lesson in warfare that would be studied for generations. As the first part of the battle concluded, the galaxy held its breath. The humans had arrived on the galactic stage, not with overwhelming force, but with something far more powerful: the wisdom to use strength wisely. War Marshal Zorvax faced a choice that would define his people's future. The 3 human ships waited patiently, their very presence a testament to a new kind of power, one that could win wars without firing a shot. The real battle, everyone now realized, had only just begun. And it would not be fought with weapons, but with ideas. The hidden strategy. The silence that followed Captain O'Brien's message stretched across light years. In the Sarkin command ship, War Marshal Zorvax paced the bridge, his heavy boots echoing against metal floors. His officers watched nervously, waiting for orders that seemed impossible to give. "A diplomatic vessel," Zorvax muttered, his voice a mixture of disbelief and grudging respect. "They mock us with their mercy." His second-in-command, Sub-Marshal Kekstar, approached cautiously. "Sir, perhaps we should consider their offer. They've demonstrated capabilities beyond our understanding." Zorvax whirled on him, eyes blazing. "The Sarkin do not negotiate from weakness." Meanwhile, aboard the Artemis, Captain Lai Wei monitored the situation with practiced calm. His ship maintained its position, quantum drives ready to jump at a microsecond's notice. The bridge crew worked in focused silence, each member aware that they were part of something historic. Captain, his science officer, Dr. James Morrison, called out, "I'm detecting unusual energy fluctuations from the Tarkan command ship. They might be preparing something." Lai nodded. "Keep monitoring. And maintain readiness for Protocol Sigma." Back at the Galactic Alliance, the Council chamber had erupted into chaos. Representatives from various species argued over the implications of humanity's display. "This changes everything," shouted Ambassador Vrix of the Corellian Empire. "If humans can disable entire fleets without killing, what does that mean for galactic balance of power?" Admiral Chen stood quietly, observing the reactions. This was exactly what Earth's leadership had anticipated. The true weapon wasn't the technology, it was the idea it represented. Ambassador Krulnax approached her, his crystalline form shimmering with agitation. "Admiral, you must share this technology with the Alliance. Such power cannot remain in the hands of a single species." Chen met his gaze steadily. "Ambassador, the technology itself is not the lesson here. The lesson is restraint." On the Prometheus, Captain Petrov received an encrypted message from Earth. He read it quickly, then turned to his crew. "Phase 3 is authorized. Dr. Patel, prepare the resonance field." Dr. Maya Patel's fingers flew across her console. "Captain, implementing the resonance field at this scale, we've only done simulations. The quantum entanglement could have unpredictable effects." "That's why we have the best quantum physicist in the fleet," Petrov replied with a slight smile. "Make it happen." The Prometheus began to emit a low-frequency pulse, invisible to standard sensors, but detectable as a subtle vibration throughout the Tarkan fleet. Ship by ship, Sarkin crew members began reporting strange sensations, not harmful, but deeply unsettling. "What are they doing now?" Zorvax demanded, grabbing his tactical console as another wave passed through his ship. His science officer looked up, pale with confusion. "Sir, they're synchronizing our ship's resonance frequencies. It's creating a quantum link between all vessels in the fleet." "For what purpose?" The answer came from the Athena. Captain O'Brien's image appeared on every screen in the Sarkin fleet simultaneously, a feat that should have been impossible given Sarkin security protocols. "War Marshal," she began, her voice calm but firm, "what you're experiencing is a demonstration of quantum resonance technology. Right now, every ship in your fleet is connected. What happens to one affects all." To prove her point, the Prometheus executed a gentle roll. Every Sarkin ship, from the smallest fighter to the massive command carrier, mirrored the movement perfectly. "This is not control," O'Brien continued. "This is connection. We could have used this to destroy you all with a single command. Instead, we're showing you that we're all connected, whether we admit it or not." In the Galactic Alliance chamber, delegates watched in awe as the entire Sarkin fleet moved in perfect synchronization, like a cosmic ballet. The military implications were staggering, but the philosophical implications were even greater. Admiral Chen addressed the Council. "For too long, galactic civilization has been based on the principle of separation. Us versus them, strong versus weak. Humanity offers a different path." Ambassador Eileen's tentacles formed patterns of deep contemplation. "You're not just showing military superiority. You're demonstrating a new paradigm." "Exactly," Chen confirmed. "We call it the Unity Protocol." Back in Sarkin space, Zorvax felt his certainty crumbling. Everything he knew about warfare, about power, was being challenged. The humans could have annihilated his fleet, but they chose demonstration over destruction. "Sir," Kextar said quietly, "we're receiving reports from across the fleet. Crew morale is changing. They're questioning why we fight." Zorvax closed his eyes. In his long career, he had never faced an enemy like this, one that conquered not through force, but through forcing self-reflection. The Artemis suddenly jumped, appearing directly alongside the Xarkan command ship. Captain Lee's voice came through on a private channel. "War Marshal, may I come aboard? I believe it's time we spoke face to face." The request was unprecedented. No enemy commander had ever set foot on a Xarkan warship during battle. Yet somehow, refusal seemed impossible now. "Very well," Zorvax heard himself say. "You have safe passage." Minutes later, Captain Lai Wei materialized in the Xarkan transport bay, alone and unarmed. He was met by a phalanx of heavily armed guards, their weapons trained on him. Lai simply smiled and bowed slightly. "Thank you for receiving me, War Marshal." As they walked to the bridge, Lai observed everything with quiet interest. The Xarkan crew watched him with a mixture of hostility and curiosity. This human, who had helped disable their mighty fleet, walked among them as if taking a casual stroll. On the bridge, Zorvax waited, his imposing figure a stark contrast to Lai's smaller human frame. "Speak, human. Why have you come?" Lai looked around the bridge, meeting the eyes of each officer. "To offer you something your empire has never had. A choice that doesn't involve conquest or submission." "And what choice is that?" "Partnership," Lai said simply. "Humanity doesn't seek to rule the galaxy. We seek to unite it." The words hung in the air, revolutionary in their simplicity. Zorvax felt the weight of centuries of Xarkan tradition pressing down on him, warring with the undeniable logic of what he had witnessed. "You could have destroyed us," he said finally. "Why didn't you?" Lai's response would echo through history. "Because destruction is easy. Building something better is the real challenge." In the Galactic Alliance, Admiral Chen watched the live feed from the Athena's external cameras. The moment of truth was approaching. "Admiral," Ambassador Krillnak said, his voice tinged with awe, "did humanity really develop all this technology in just 50 years? Chen smiled mysteriously. "We didn't develop it alone. We had help." "Help? From whom?" "From the future," Chen replied enigmatically. "From the understanding that our survival depends not on domination, but on cooperation." The third phase was about to begin, and with it, a new chapter in galactic history. The three ships had done more than win a battle. They had begun to win hearts and minds across the stars. As Captain Lai and War Marshals, Zorvax continued their historic meeting. The crews of both fleets watched and waited. The galaxy held its breath, sensing that something fundamental was changing. The age of conquest was ending. The age of unity was about to begin. The final stand. The turning point came not with an explosion or a dramatic declaration, but with a simple gesture. Captain Lai Wei extended his hand to War Marshal Zorvax, a human custom that the Xarkan commander had never encountered. "What is this?" Zorvax asked, studying the outstretched hand. "A handshake," Lai explained. "On Earth, it symbolizes trust, agreement, and peace. It means we meet as equals." Zorvax hesitated. In Xarkan culture, physical contact with an enemy was unthinkable. Yet everything about this day had been unthinkable. Slowly, he reached out and grasped Lai's hand. The moment their hands touched, every screen in both fleets lit up with the same image, human and Xarkan, joined in a gesture of peace. The symbolism was not lost on anyone watching. On the Athena, Captain O'Brien initiated the final phase of their mission. "Dr. Reeves, begin the Harmony Protocol." Dr. Elizabeth Reeves, the ship's chief anthropologist and psychologist, activated a program that had taken decades to develop. Suddenly, every ship in both fleets began receiving broadcasts, not of propaganda or demands, but of music, art, and literature from both cultures. Xarkan battle hymns played alongside human symphonies. Earth poetry appeared next to Xarkan epic tales. Images of both worlds' natural wonders filled the screens. For the first time, each side saw the other not as enemies, but as people with their own beauty, culture, and dreams. "What is the purpose of this?" Zorvax demanded, though his voice had lost its edge. Lai smiled. to show that what unites us is greater than what divides us. Your people have a saying, "The mountain sees not the valley's beauty." We're helping you see the valley. In the Galactic Alliance chamber, something unprecedented was happening. Representatives who had argued for hours were now silent, watching the cultural exchange with rapt attention. Ambassador Eileen's tentacles formed patterns of wonder as she experienced Sarkin art for the first time. Admiral Chen addressed the assembly. "This is humanity's true gift to the galaxy. Not weapons, not technology, but the ability to see ourselves in others." Ambassador Krillnak stepped forward. "Admiral, I must ask again, how did you achieve this? The technology, the strategy, everything seems beyond what a species with your limited spacefaring experience should possess." Chen's response shocked everyone, because we almost destroyed ourselves. 2 centuries ago, Earth nearly ended in nuclear fire. We learned that the greatest enemy isn't out there. She gestured to the stars. "It's in here." She touched her chest. Fear, hatred, the inability to see others as equals. Meanwhile, aboard the Sarkin command ship, a transformation was occurring. Crew members who had been ready to die in battle were now discussing human music, comparing it to their own. Some were even attempting to learn the handshake gesture. Sub-Marshal Kextar approached his commander. "Sir, we're receiving reports from across the Empire. Word of what's happening here has spread. There are questions, demands for explanation." Zorvax nodded slowly. "As there should be. We have built our empire on the principle that strength comes from dominance. Today, we learned that there is a greater strength. The Prometheus chose this moment to demonstrate the final capability of human technology." Captain Petrov's voice broadcast across all channels. "Attention all vessels. We are about to demonstrate the restoration protocol." Every ship that had been disabled by the human EMPs suddenly came back online. Weapons systems, engines, shields, all restored to perfect functionality. The message was clear. Humanity could take away power, but they could also give it back. "Impossible," breathed a Sarkin engineer. "The damage should have been permanent." Dr. Patel's voice came through from the Prometheus. "We don't believe in permanent damage. Everything can be healed, rebuilt, restored, if we choose to make it so." In the Galactic Alliance, the implications were staggering. A species that could disable fleets without killing, force connection without control, and restore what they had taken away. This changed everything about galactic power dynamics. But the greatest surprise was yet to come. Captain O'Brien appeared on all screens again. "People of the galaxy, what you have witnessed today is not a human victory. It is a galactic awakening. The technology we've demonstrated doesn't belong to humanity alone." She paused, letting the statement sink in. It was developed by a secret alliance of scientists from 12 different species, working together for over 30 years. Humans were simply chosen to demonstrate it, because we were the newest members of the galactic community, the ones no one would suspect. The revelation sent shockwaves through the assembly. Admiral Chen stepped forward to confirm. The Unity Protocol was a joint project. We all contributed. The quantum resonance field, developed by Corellian physicists. The restoration technology, Meridian bioengineers. The Cultural Harmony Program, a collaboration between human and Centauri artists. Ambassador Vrix of the Corellian Empire stood. Our scientists participated. Your best quantum theorist, Dr. Vorn, was one of the project leaders, Chen revealed. The truth emerged piece by piece. For decades, visionaries from across the galaxy have been working in secret, developing not weapons of war, but tools of peace. They had chosen humanity as their messenger because humans, with their short history in space, represented hope for change. On the Sarkin command ship, Zorvax processed this information. So this was never about human superiority. "No," Lai replied. "It was about galactic unity. We were just the delivery system." The war marshal stood silent for a long moment, then made a decision that would reshape his empire. Open a channel to all Xarkan forces. When the connection was established, Zorvax spoke words no one had ever expected to hear. Warriors of the Xarkan Empire, today we have encountered not enemies, but teachers. I hereby order all forces to stand down. We will return to our space, not in defeat, but in contemplation of a new path. The broadcast ended, but Zorvax wasn't finished. He turned to Captain Lai. Will humanity accept an alliance with the Xarkan? Lai smiled. Humanity doesn't seek allies. We seek friends. The handshake that followed was broadcast across the galaxy, becoming one of the most iconic images in history. In the Galactic Alliance, Admiral Chen made one final revelation. The three ships were symbolic. The Prometheus represented innovation, the fire of new ideas. The Artemis represented wisdom, the understanding of when to act and when to refrain. The Athena represented unity, the bringing together of different peoples. As the Xarkan fleet began its journey home, not as conquerors but as changed beings, the three human ships remained in formation. They had accomplished what no armada could have. They had won a war without firing a shot, conquered an empire without taking a life, and changed the galaxy without imposing their will. Months later, at the first Galactic Unity Summit, representatives from every major civilization gathered. The Xarkan Empire, once the most feared military power, had become the strongest advocate for the Unity Protocol. War Marshal Zorvax, now Ambassador Zorvax, worked alongside Captain Light to establish the Galactic Peace Corps. The three ships, Prometheus, Artemis, and Athena, became museums, symbols of the day when warfare changed forever. School children from 100 worlds visited them, learning not about weapons and tactics, but about courage, wisdom, and the power of choosing peace. Admiral Chen, in her memoirs, wrote, "We sent three ships not because it was all we had, but because it was all we needed." The greatest battles are won not by those who bring the most weapons, but by those who bring the biggest ideas. The age of conquest had indeed ended. The age of unity had begun, and it started with a simple question that echoed across the stars. Why did humanity send just three ships to war? The answer, as the galaxy learned, was because three ships were enough to carry the most powerful weapon of all, the idea that we are stronger together than we could ever be apart.